I went ahead and started recording. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. This is like already the end of 2025. I mean, this year has just flown. I don't know where it's gone. I mean, it's crazy. All right, so let's see. Let's phones. Okay, we'll go ahead and do the mute. Okay, there it went through. Okay, well, welcome to everyone for our last telecall on 2025 for the Moon series. It's a really, really bizarre time for sure. I sent out a big group of emails with everyone talking about this Sagittarius new moon at 28 degrees, which is one of the later degrees, so it certainly has a mastery degree. It's not at 29 exactly, but it's late enough, to be taking us into deep awareness for stuff. That's for sure. There's a cousin calling in. I'll let that go now. Yeah, so several of you are mentioning, just how, I guess challenging the energy is, and I mean, I have felt like this whole week has been like death, and of course, I mean, we always have death and rebirth. It's always constant. I mean, you can't have birth without, the death too. But to be in that crucible constantly, of course, we're doing that more and more. I think, just in the immediacy of, our now moments. It's a lot. It's a lot to process. It's a lot of energy coming in, and it's raw energy. And I don't know how many of you had a chance to, read through, what's been happening with the astrology, with all the emails I sent out. As a matter of fact, I saved several other additional emails from other astrologers. I just kept finding more stuff, reading, and I was like, oh, wow. And it doesn't surprise me. People are really writing about these energies right now because we are. I mean, we're really crescendoing. I know it's at the end of the year, but as I've mentioned with other calls, all the personal planets and several other planetary objects are all coming into meeting a convergence in Capricorn, in January, as we're setting up for the eclipse series in the middle and end of February. So there's a lot shifting, and so I know we've all seen it certainly in the external world, whether it's the politics and business and finance and all the systems. I mean, there's been we're definitely shaking the systems to their core. That's for sure. I mean, it's like really crazy energetically. And yet that's exactly what's necessary to break apart the stuff that doesn't work anymore, that hasn't worked in a very long time, to take us into a more blank slate, going into new creations for 2026. And I mean, some people always want to say, oh, it's going to be this date that's, something's going to really move forward. Well, it's not. It's a time period. It's kind of like when they talk about the ending of the Kali Yuga age. Well, it's 26,000 years. So really, we've been in it for 100 years. I mean, it's a multi-dimensional portal of a shift in collective human awareness. Let's just say that. And of course, it happens on the individual level, but it also happens on the collective level. So, everyone that's here in human form are participating in the collective human expression. And I think that's the hardest thing for most people. They can't see beyond the individual, path that they're on, or, what's right in front of their field. People in our lives, the family, friends, and work associates, what have you. It really is the interconnectedness of every micron of anything that has life force. And we're not conditioned to think about that. We don't understand it. We don't, we're just not trained to have awareness in that at all. But, this is really what I've been talking about for the last several months that we've been leading to, is the fact that all the personal planets have been moving through the Galactic Center, and we've had some stuff. Let me see, when did things really start going through? Actually, all the way back to October, when we had the personal planets all conjuncting this 3-eye atlas interstellar cosmic object, whatever we want to call it. And this one thing we were talking about before, we really started the call was, some people have been talking about the 3-eye atlas and what people have been sharing and the different perspectives. And it's really all over the map. And in truth, when I was kind of sitting in all of this, people write from their own perspective. Their capacity to articulate something is only limited by his or her own life experiences, their capacity to get out of the way, to step outside the box. And if you think back to the way we are conditioned as humans, we start, we're born, we come in, we're wide open as a general rule, we go through the wounding, we go through what have you, and then we're conditioned to listen to other people, all the opinions. Then we go through the educational systems. No matter what country we're in, we're listening to someone else's projection of their value systems, what's important, what's not important, and there goes the indoctrination. And so the mind, and of course they start the indoctrination. For all of us on this call, we pretty much were starting at 6 years old with first grade. But then, of course, they went into kindergarten, which is 5-year-old, then preschool at 3 and 4 years old. They try to take hold of our minds as early as they possibly can to start the indoctrination process, to shut down the inner child, to shut down our connection to spirit, the all that is, whatever you want to call that, and start the programming into certain belief systems. And, this part of what's happening with this 3-eye atlas, I feel like, and again, it's all over the map with what people are writing about it or saying about it in videos. And again, people are only limited by what their own capacity is to stay in their own heart and also merge with the cosmic heart of God to articulate the most vast awareness of what's happening with 3-eye atlas as a cosmic visitor in our solar system. I do think it does have a deep, great meaning, the value, the fact it's coming through right now with all of these other things happening. I think it's I would say rewiring, but wiring even, to me really projects a value of more physicality, of more structure. For me, I feel like 3-eye atlas is dissolving the structure or our perception of structure in the way we're perceiving reality. I think that it is, as a cosmic visitor, it's coming here. It's on the ecliptic plane where all of the other planets are traveling. And that's never happened, as far as I know, with any of the other comets. as a general rule, when a comet comes in, it intersects the ecliptic plane, which is where most all the planets are rotating around, the Earth. And of course, we're rotating around the sun, but everything's within that ecliptic plane. And so when a comet comes through, it's coming through and puncturing it and coming either in and going just through it, passing through, or it will dip in and dip back out and go back out. There's different paths, different ones I followed, and I've actually got a few of those things that I saved from a couple other things when I do this video on all this, which I think is going to come up. Hopefully this week I can do it. I finalized doing all of the aspects, which was a lot of work. I had to go through and separate all the planets. I've got like 70 planets and dwarf planets and centaurs and all these objects with their paths that go through across the zodiac, and I had to separate them out by sign so I could delete certain signs in between to have the signs for aspects. Like Aries and Leo and Sagittarius all make a fire trine. For the trines, you actually have 3 signs. That's all flowing energy. But to be able to see those signs together next to each other, I had to delete all these things. It took me like 2 weeks to separate all that out because I had 3 years of doing this mapped out sky for 70 objects. So you can just imagine what that was. It was challenging, but it's done. And it was still taking a lot of tweaking. But I've got all of those aspects done, so I can actually have, pull up each of those things to discuss larger aspects over time, things we'll be working with over time when I go into this video. And that's pretty powerful. But when I was pulling it up, I also pulled up a couple other of the images that people have put in about the path of 3 Atlas. I've been really wanting to understand. They talk about how it's coming close to, we're actually today, this 3 Atlas is the closest to Earth that it will ever move before it starts passing to go out of the solar system. And it won't go out until March the 12th of next year, according to the main one that I've been using. But I haven't really seen anyone else track it from a standpoint. There are a couple of tracking apps and websites out there that let you go on and it'll tell you what the coordinates are at any given moment of time. But it's not as it hasn't been as frequent for someone to actually take the zodiac of the sky to track the comet along and show you the path. There's only a handful of those that have done it. And so, but the fact that it's gone along really puts it as a player within the whole planetary dynamic of our solar system. And so it's because of that I've actually pulled the 3 Atlas path and put it over this as an overlay. I also have not really heard many people talk about the aspects to 3 Atlas the way you would a planetary body. And it may not matter. I don't know. I've done it from a standpoint that if it's in our sky and it's functioning within that ecliptic plane, our plane of presence and existence with the planets, I do feel it may have significance to look at those aspects the way that you would for any other object in the sky. It is only a pass-through, but there's something about the presence of it that I feel is really lending to the power right now. I think it brings cosmic awareness and the fact that all of the personal planets are going through the Galactic Center. I think that's been a big deal. The interesting thing about the objects that are going through the Galactic Center, like as far as the things I've been tracking, the first one to go through, actually, with the eclipses back in September, at the first eclipse, the Linden asteroid, Judith's asteroid, her last name, went through the galactic center. So I thought that was very interesting, since her soul, I think, is working with us. After that, Vardo has been sitting in the galactic center, and Vardo is one of these way out dwarf planets, but it really has to do with more of a female creation energy. Varda and Manway are kind of like masculine and feminine of that particular. There's a whole thing that goes with that I won't get into, but the fact that that was going through. Then the Pamela asteroid, I pulled Pamela Gregory just because Pam's so tied into it. She was coming through, the galactic center after that with Estrella. All right, man. Move. Come down. It's saving the document. That's the only thing that's aggravating. I'm glad it auto-saves because it's actually saved me from losing some data if I didn't save as soon as I should have. But because this spreadsheet's huge, I would hate to lose any data, but it takes like a minute while it goes through the saving process. It ties the machine up. But no, so we've had several of these objects that are going through the galactic center. And so the fact that they are being activated by the galactic center, the center of our consciousness, where we come from, I don't think that's a mistake, that's all happening. Okay, here we go. Freed up. So Pamela and Estrella went through the galactic center back in October the 19th. Vesta was going through the galactic center around the 9th or 10th of November. The Johnny asteroid, which is my childhood existence. The Jonathan Murray asteroid came through then on December 2nd. Mars came through. Jonathan Murray is still in there at that time. But anyway, that was December the 11th. Then we have this moon, the new moon being created. And the new moon, of course, is when it meets up with the sun. So the sun is at the galactic center. The moon's at the galactic center. Juno is just, 2 days away from the galactic center. That's all of our partnering. Then Venus goes through the galactic center on the 21st on the solstice. All of this energy. So that's all the personal planets there. Mercury is going to go through actually on January the 1st. And all of these planets are coming into a convergence in Capricorn, which is earthing, which is grounding, which is building new structures in the middle of January. And it's really rare to have all of those things come together. And they really come together in the full moon of Capricorn, which is the next moon cycle we're going to go through on January the 3rd. So that's going to be a huge shift of things. And to have Mars, Venus, Sun, the Johnny asteroids in the middle of it, the Jonathan Murray asteroids next to it. So, I mean, if our named asteroids, really are tied to us as a frequency, then I guess I'm going to feel this pretty big. Quorar and Ixion, which are a couple of actually Ixion's a little further away, but Quorar is there. Pholus is one of the centaurs that blows things up, that it exaggerates them. It's kind of like a Jupiter, except it's from a centaur standpoint. But all of those things are meeting up together, within that first couple of weeks. And then Mercury will meet up with them, just a little bit after that. So the fact that all the personal planets are meeting up in the same spot, in a convergence, having gone through the galactic center, and all of them will go through the 3-eye Atlas trine, starting on the solstice. Mars goes through and trines 3-eye Atlas. The Sun trines it 4 days later. Venus trines it 2 days later. Juno trines it a little bit later after that. And they've all gone through not just the galactic center, but they've all passed through the Black Moon Lilith oscillation Lilith pattern, which is the actual placement of Lilith, which I've defined for you as the divine feminine in its highest expression, not the lower Lilith expressions, that they like to project onto us from biblical explorations and understandings and all these things. And again, that's part of the old story. There are all these old stories that are centuries old that have been projected onto us for so long and have kept us in limitation. And I'm suggesting to you that you can put all that out with the trash. It doesn't exist. And stories are things that have been perpetuated over time. We are really being asked to give up every single old, worn-out story that does not fit with our own highest expression of truth. Anything that keeps us trapped and stuck, it's done, it's gone. And the other part to this, too, is we go on into Capricorn, the new moon in Capricorn on January the 18th. I wish soon you're going to see this video. All the personal planets are still pretty together. It looks like string spaghetti. Actually, for all of you in New Orleans, you've seen the spaghetti models for all of the hurricanes that come through. This is a spaghetti model on steroids. I mean, it's crazy. It looks like tons of strings of spaghetti with all these planets together. And so the second moon in Capricorn, which will be the new moon on January the 18th, and it's at the 28th degree, so a mastery degree of creation in Capricorn. The Pamela asteroid's there, Australia. I mean, Mercury meets up with all the planets at that moon. So the fact that Mercury meets it, you're going to have communication. Everything is going to be created. That's going to be the real, I think, activation point that takes us into the eclipse window that will come in 2 moons after that. So really, actually, that new moon in Capricorn on the 18th really is the opening to the eclipse window. Because is it? No, actually, it'd be the full moon in Leo because it's usually 2 weeks before. Either way, it's all opening us up to this. And this, of course, is going to move into Aquarius. When that happens, after that moon on January the 18th, they're all right there together. They're going to pass through the opposition to 3i Atlas. So the opposition point to any planet is really the next most powerful dynamic that you're going to have outside of the conjunction when it's actually on it. The opposition can create, because it's in a polarity, it can create something from the opposite effect. I think it's going to work with it on a cosmic level to just bring us into greater awareness. The other part to this is Pluto is going to be right in the middle of it. As all of these planets, that moon will be on the January the 18th. By the 20th, they're all starting to come in contact with that opposition, which is right on Pluto. Pluto is huge transformation. That's going to be a huge moon, that new moon. And it's going to be in the early degrees of Aquarius. Aquarius is all that, it's that kind of like the age of Aquarius energy. I mean, this really is an age of Aquarius, the dawning of Aquarius. Mercury is going to be traveling along with Venus for probably about 2 weeks within, just 2 or 3 degrees of each other. So we're going to have a lot of energy that's going to be merging with us as far as communication, what we value. This is also going to be money. And it's all going to be, it's not far away from the sun that creates the full moon in Leo on February the 1st. Vesta is there. Vesta is house and home. Mars is right behind it, so you've got action. Estrella is there. Estrella has to do with health and different things like that. But they're all lined up as a stellium, and they're all in Aquarius. as they start to approach, the eclipse window, which will be starting on February 17th. The same time that that's all happening, Neptune will have gone into Aries out of Pisces. It will have finished any of the old dreams, delusions, all the old stuff for the final pass on January 26th. Saturn will go through to Aries then for its final time on the 13th of February. Then they meet up on the 20th in the middle of the eclipse window. So the point is, we've really only got 2 months to get to the eclipse window now. And so whatever's happening in your own life personally, if you have things falling away, if you've got friends, family shifting, changing, how they are approaching you, how you see them, how you view them, how you the structures in your life, anything like that that's falling apart. If there's something you are questioning, let it go. This is the time. Do not hold on to anything that needs to go. It just is not going to serve you at all. That new moon solar eclipse, the first one, will be on February 17th. It's at 2850 Aquarius. That's about as late into Aquarius as you can get before going to the 29th anaretic degree. So I feel that Aquarian new moon eclipse is going to be, of course, new moons are new creations. That's the first moon. That's the first eclipse. And it's in Aquarius. I really think that's the new opening for humanity to start acting, in a new, complete way. Mars is not far away from that with Vesta. The Linden asteroid is right there in part of all that, and the Pamela asteroid is not far away. So I really think that Jude Soul will probably be working with us deeply. Pam Gregory will probably have a lot going on with it. My asteroids meet up with Pluto during the whole eclipse period. So I'm going to be tied up in Pluto, not far away from that particular moon. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know what that's going to mean for me. But at the same time, Mercury is going to station retrograde during it starts its retrograde curve, but it turns retrograde in the middle of that eclipse window. So the fact that we're going to have communication going retrograde, it's going to go over Venus before it comes out of the second eclipse. It passes the Sun and Mars within like a week and a half. So there's going to be a lot of energy with regards to how we communicate. It's kind of like that really will be a rewiring of communication in all the Venusian things, the Sun, how we see ourselves, how we express ourselves. It's going to go over Pallas Athena. It's going to go over the Nessus Centaur. It goes over the Nessus Centaur on the second eclipse, which is a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo at 12 degrees. So, and it's close to the opposition of that moon. It will also be going through the trine of 3i Atlas. It'll be the trine of the other side before, and literally right before Atlas goes out. Atlas will come to a stationary point on that second eclipse before it supposedly leaves the solar system on March the 12th. The fact that Pallas Athena is there, the fact the Sun is there, creating the opposition to that moon in Virgo, that's a lot going on. And Mercury retrograde is coming right by it, over the Nessus Centaur. Nessus Centaur is always about abuse issues. So there's a lot of energy, and it's at the end of Pisces. Pisces, is definitely regulating how we see ourselves in aspects of God. It's religious belief systems. All of that's up for a redo with the next eclipses. So I think it's going to mean that, and that's all happening at the same time as Neptune and Saturn's going into Aries. So we're going to have the new beginnings with the dissolution of all this stuff going in Pisces. So I think that's going to really be the next eclipse series, is when people reformulate how they perceive themselves as spiritual beings, because it's trining 3i Atlas, and it's in Pisces. And you have all the personal planets in attendance within a 2-week period. So there's a lot going on for the next, that's 2 months. Most of the astrologers, if you've read, what I've sent out, they talk about it really won't be until I think May before we really get grounded, whatever is coming forth for us in a very deep way. So again, there's just so much happening. There's so much happening. Oh, the other thing too with that eclipse series in February, the North Node is part of it. It's going right through all of it. So they'll all be aspecting our future awareness of where we're going, what we're creating. So suffice it to say, this particular moon really is the beginning of what we've been waiting for all this time, based on what I've been talking about with the crescendo of everything. All the personal planet energies coming together. I think that's the biggest main thing that I can really, really want to point out with stuff. As far as the 3i Atlas path, for the month of, let me see, it entered back into Virgo at the end, last week of November. And for the whole month of December, it's basically in Virgo. So whatever you've got in Virgo, it's going to be aspecting those things. There's not a lot of personal planets per se. The Gregory asteroid's going through, the John asteroid's going through, the Judith asteroid's going through, literally within 2 weeks. You can't make this up. And it squared the Galactic Center at the end. So squares always bring us. Some people think that, it's more of a challenge, destruction aspect. It's a working energy. I'm just going to say it's a working energy. And it also goes across the South Node. Actually, it already did that. It did it earlier in the week, about a week ago. So the fact that the South Node, which is our past, individual and collective, the fact that it's being conjuncted by this cosmic, interstellar, presence, whatever that is, I think it's dissolving whatever stories we carry forward. That's the way I perceive it and feel it to be working with us. So, depending on where you're at in your own soul progression, in your own journey, your own levels of awareness, I think that's what's happening with that. Now, at the end of this month, just next week, on the 27th is the last day it's at Virgo, and it's by the Regulus Royal star. So that's one of the 4 main cardinal stars that are in the sky. I think that's going to really activate it, and then it's going to back into Leo, and it's going to trine the Galactic Center. So trines are very flowing energies, and I think it's going to really open up whatever's going on in Leo. If you have a Leo house and things, the conjunction of 3i Atlas is there, and the trine to the Galactic Center is there in those last degrees. So if you've got anything in the last degrees of Leo, at the beginning of the year, before it passes through, I think it's going to be very favorable for you. I had my natal and progressed Jupiters at 25 and 29 degrees of Leo. And, of course, that's also my ascendant at 19. So I'm really probably going to be activated with this, whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm not going to project a value. I'm just going to sit and wait, and we'll see how that works out. But, yeah, so the point is all the planets are dancing across the sky. And they always do it. depending on where things are hitting in your chart, will depend on how this piano of planets play for you. And just because planets are there doesn't mean that it creates an energy. And that's something else I want to talk about, because some people talk about, well, this awful thing happened. It must have been in my chart, and this was something created on me. It's like God did this to me. Well, yes and no. Things play out, of course, through the chart, whichever way. We still have the free will choice to make conscious or unconscious choices. You can either choose a higher expression through your choice, or you choose a lower expression. If you've lived life long enough, which most of us on this call have, then you're not going to be making as many unconscious decisions, because you're able to sit with the decision and feel into bigger picture dynamics. You'll be able to say, okay, if I make this decision, it's going to affect all of these people around me. It will affect, whatever circumstances there are. You'll be able to see bigger picture dynamics, and you're consciously co-creating in a much better way. Well, there's no better or less than, but in a way that's not going to create a karmic repercussion for you, at some point on down the line in the future. If you can really stay out of your own way, this is an amazing time to really create in a higher expression. And I know I've talked about this for quite a while, as far as that type of a way to observe the world and how we're working with things. But I mean, that really is I think the takeaway from all of this energy, the things that are coming together. So the other thing that I'm going to get into, not today on this, but in the video, is the fact that the tropical zodiac that most astrologers in Western civilization look through, it was all created to create even 30-degree signs. And when you overlay those onto the actual placement of the zodiac the way it was originally created, it's about 30 degrees off. And so I have a question on the interpretation when we're in our Western world, when you have astrologers, looking at everything through the tropical zodiac, whether or not, if the energy, this of course, it's a placement of where the sun is. What is the sun lighting up? The sun really is lighting up another constellation with regards to actuality in the actual zodiac inside real astrology. In other words, Sagittarius is really overlaid on top of the Ophiuchus constellation. Ophiuchus was always the head of the serpent bearer, and yet it's supposedly invisible. It's a 13th constellation, and so it makes me feel like that the tropical zodiac is representative of a false reality system that we're in. It feels to me that it was a false story, a false projection, and that we're observing it, and yet it feels like a lower expression. I could be totally wrong, and I've got to talk to some real astrologers about that and what it looks like. But yeah, that's a whole big picture I'm not going to get into with this call. So, energetically, though, so I was mentioning, just to go back to frequency energies, before we started the call and recording, we're just chatting with everyone, and I was talking about the frequency and about the death and rebirth. And we're always in death and rebirth constantly as an awareness. And the more you allow yourself to go through an internal death, the more you have the capacity to really birth into a deeper level of awareness of the all that is. And I really think that's what this particular moon, because it's at the Galactic Center, it's functioning as a galactic reset in our consciousness, if we're in the space to allow it and perceive it. It's also interesting to note here as I look at this, the asteroid Bray, my last name, is sitting at 2619. The Galactic Center is at 2713. My last name in progression, like today, is sitting at that. It's sitting at the Galactic Center. So I guess that's why I can articulate all this. My natal placement of my last name was at 039 Capricorn on the world point, but it's gone back to this point now. So I don't think that's a coincidence. Does that mean everybody with the last name of Bray is in this space? I don't know. Could be. But again, it also depends on the placement of where everything else is in your charts. And, of course, I've got a 0-degree Chiron at the beginning of Aries. So I'm sitting in primordial wounding and awareness of everything that ever existed, really, if you want to go into wide-angle lenses of things. That's why I can discuss big picture dynamics. Now, I knew, when Judith and I started working together that I'd be taken into that to have these types of discussions. But the point is, for you, whoever's listening, for everybody on the call now, and of course anybody that listens to it later, in this particular time, that this moon is happening, we really are going through cosmic death and rebirth. So I've talked about us being in a collective and individual bardo state. Again, the bardo state is basically where you have a 72-hour, give or take more or less. It could be weeks, it could be whatever. But it's basically when you go back to a recapitulation of your own life with the all that is before you go back in physical death. I think we're doing that while we're alive. That's what it feels like to me. And I think because all these have gone through the Galactic Center, it almost feels like everybody could be sitting in their own death and rebirth as an awareness of who they are as a cosmic expression. Does that mean everyone's doing it in that way? I don't think so. There's so many people who are just so far asleep that they would rather die than wake up. So, and again, that's not a judgment call at all. But there's 8 billion plus people, supposedly. I don't think there's that many, but I think that number's highly inflated. No matter what, though, whoever's here on the planet we're all going through soul progression. We're all in a different space. Some people are very progressed. Some people are not so much. They're still looping. They're looping for many reasons. Part of it's the conditioning, MK Ultra programming, Hollyweird programming. I've explained all this several times. So the main thing, though, is to release all the programming, and you have to release it in your core. So the other interesting thing about this, when I look at asteroids, the Atlantis asteroid is right here close to all of this. It's right next to my Johnny asteroid. So I think that's very interesting. The Pamela asteroid, Lyndon asteroid are next to each other. Delphi was an oracle. It's there. Pamela's there. Intel. It's just so interesting that all these, Nikola, the Gaia asteroid, is sitting right here next to Venus and the Jonathan Murray, and the Sun. The fact you've got that asteroid, Gaia, representing Earth, there in this awareness. Sophia really represents the divine, feminine, and Christic awareness. Veritas is truth. Lovejoy is there. It's like, so if you look at all the asteroids that are in the asteroid field as a frequency, all of these things are attending this new birth in this area of Capricorn. I think I've explained the asteroid field a little bit before, but just a quick little thing. There's about 2 million asteroids that make up the asteroid belt, and it's floating in between Mars and Jupiter. And I really feel like that asteroid field is representative of the fragmentation of the old human expression of who we've always been on the planet as things went through deep, dark disintegration, core disintegration in all of our past lives. I think there's parts of us floating around out there that created the separation. And there really is no separation between us and another human, not truly. So I think the fact that you've got several of these interesting asteroids here all together, and these personal planets are all in attendance with it, feels like to me that it's bringing awareness to the asteroids that are floating in this space. And of course, if they're in Capricorn, they've already gone through the Galactic Center at some point in the last 3 or 4 months. The asteroids coming up this next month will be Merlin, Lemuria, Unitas, Utopia, Grand Prism, Liberatrix, Angelica. Those are just a few of the interesting ones that are, I think, coming through. So, and again, there's 25,600 something named asteroids in the AstroDance computer. They represent people's names. They represent ideas, concepts, feelings, all sorts of things. And again, each one of those, I really feel like are there and they're named as an energy event. They represent a frequency. So when you look at all of that, now I don't. This is the part I don't understand, and I guess a good astrologer could articulate a little bit more about this. But a lot of those asteroids are named after Western named words, ideas, concepts, whatever. You don't find a lot of them named in Chinese. You don't see them named in Japanese. You don't see them in a lot of other languages. Some yes, but a lot no. It's almost like, I guess because it's an AstroDance computer. Well, actually, that computer didn't name the asteroids. The asteroids are named by the minor planet center. I think it's what it's called. Is it MPC? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but they're usually named for other people that either found the asteroid or did some sort of work to create it, or there's usually something. So the name is a projection onto whatever they were over the last 100, 200 years. I don't think they're 200 years out. But a lot of them have been named in the last 20 to 30 years, and they're continually being named. So it still is interesting, though, to see when the asteroids, for people that are in your life, your parents, family, sisters, brothers, romantic partners, whatever, it's just interesting how they show up in your chart. And, and they're always still creating, challenging dynamics sometimes with us. So that still leads us into the place of, are we still at the hand of fate with people and things coming in and out of our lives? How much of it is conscious free will choice? And of course, it's always both. We really are living in an unlimited reality, potentiality, but we're only limited by the soul expression, the genetic inheritance, the karmic inheritance, all of those things. This is what we're clearing out. And I really feel like that's what's happening. Like right now, we're in the middle of it. So, yeah. I know some of this has been repetitive to some of the other things I've gone through in calls, but another thing that's happening, I think this there's a I think they call it a minor grand trine between, I think Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune together, Jupiter, there's Uranus, I don't remember. There's another big trine that's happening. And, let me go find, I did sheets for these aspects already. Let's go to the trines. Let me see, where are we at here? So it's not a fire trine, it's a Libra. I think it's a water trine. Let me pull up and see. Got Neptune there. Nope, it's not a water trine. Maybe it is. I hadn't gone far enough. Well, no, it wouldn't be the water trine. It is going to be fire. I haven't got used to these aspect sheets with the certain signs next to each other yet, so it's been very been a learning curve for me on this stuff too. Let's see, there's Aries. Oh, going into next year. Okay. Neptune, Saturn's there. I can't find the planets. Well, I don't remember. Anyway, it's a minor water trine that we're going through. It can't be water. I'm going to air. Whatever it is, it's operating with us for quite some time. Maybe it's Pluto. Oh, yeah, Pluto was one of them. Okay. So we got Pluto, Sedna. Okay. I can't find what I was talking about. Whatever it was I read. I should have wrote that down. Okay. My mind has been all over the map. So, anyway. All right, I'm babbling now. I got lost and sidetracked. Which is, it's also part and parcel of all this energy that we're doing. It's hard to get distracted. Okay. I think that covers the bulk of, where I wanted to go, discuss, all this energy with having gone through the Black Moon Lilith oscillation portal, which I think is activating divine feminine within us. And that's within the solar system because it represents the moon's apogee, which is the closest part, a way out. So it's kind of cosmic awareness. They've gone through that, but then throughout Atlas, going through it in the Galactic Center. All of those things are the main, points as far as to go with any of this. Otherwise, it's going to become too, we'll be talking about too many things, with regards to just planets. And I really think that, the planets can, give us an idea about what we're going through, but really we're going into a place where we're just going to go into our hearts and have awareness through the heart. That's certainly one thing I've always talked about with these calls, and certainly Judith always, was teaching from that standpoint, and it really is true. To have the astrology is one thing, but the other thing, as I've looked at all this, if we have mythology, the mythology, some of that's thousands of years old, and the mythology is constantly projected onto us as a value based on where the planets are, what's happening to us, and people say, oh, you're experiencing this and this and this. And so it does beg the question, are we having an experience because of all this, thousands of years of mythology projected onto us, or are we at a point where we've stepped away from all of that, and none of that really is in a place of having power to define what we're experiencing in life at this moment of time. And at what point do we step outside of it? I mean, Judith, always used to talk about she left astrology. It just didn't affect what she was doing. And yet, when you go back and look at certain time periods, I think it certainly did. I could make a case that certain things were still happening with the astrology in her own soul progression. Although she did take herself into years of vast cosmic awareness, and it's hard to know the difference. I mean, you get all these yogis that have done so much deep work, and things have been written on them for a couple hundred years, and whether it was the Krishnamurtis or the Yogananda, it doesn't matter who, they all went through realization, self-realization. They went through deep shifts. They could go and take themselves and people around them into deep transcendence and deep healing. And yet so many of them still manifested disease patterns. They either had a cancer to take them out, they had some other thing that happened in physicality that they weren't able to shift past. And I've talked about this a lot too. The Lazarus material always talks about we all come in with a deaf eye and a blind eye and a deaf ear. And Judith and I talked about that quite a bit. So as we go into this new beginning, I really invite all of us, I think, to sit in that. Ask yourself what else is left to transmute. Is there some way in your life you are still playing out a blind eye to something, either within yourself that you're seeing, something within your family, friends, something that still is either a hurdle or it stands in the way of you manifesting something that you want, or if there's a deaf ear, something that you don't hear. And if you look at all the different levels in which we can see, you can obviously see with your eyes, but you can also see with your heart. You can hear with your ears, but you can also hear with your heart. And when you let go of what you're seeing and hearing in physicality, and you allow yourself to just sit in spirit and see the eternal totality of what's around you, just as awareness, nothing in physicality, just to be aware. And I've talked about this the last couple of times too, but I keep being taken deeper and deeper into it. We have what we see around us because it's in physicality close. We see friends, family, whatever, our neighborhood, our friends. We also see what's happening by the media, mainstream media, what it puts out, the narrative it wants you to know. But when you also see into the totality of Earth and all of the manifestations of humanity and all their unlimited expressions, I really don't think that we can, turn a blind eye to the totality of all of it. Some of it you can go and you can, work to change, either starving people in Ethiopia or the Sudan and all the war that's been created in so many of these countries, the third world countries, the enslavement, all the different levels in which so many people are still living in enslavement. Aboriginals in Australia, the bush. I mean, it's all over the map. And I think sometimes the hard part for us to know is that each soul, no matter where they're at on the planet, are exactly where the soul is for its own soul growth, the progression of soul, but also to clear out the ancestral and genetic inheritances. It is one of those things I do think, though, when we wake up every day, your soul just gets drawn and say, I've got to travel here, I've got to go here. your heart just, it goes where it needs to go. And again, that's the progression of soul that works through. The deeper you go into multidimensional awareness, though, I really think that we can all get to a place where we can articulate eternal truth to each other that can help us shift and break free from all the different forms of enslavement, whether it's MK Ultra controlled programming, whether it's societal and cultural conditionings. Some of this stuff is so ancient. I forget which one of you mentioned earlier. I don't know if it was LaDonna or Joyce. I don't remember. There's so many. We were talking about so many things earlier before the call started. But we were talking about. God, my mind is going all over the map too. Spirit's got so many things that I'm being shown at and thrown. It's like when you go into all this, it's like, oh my gosh. God, where was that going? Well, it was a pertinent thing. Gosh, I hate when this happens. That's the other thing. We're really losing our minds. We're losing the old mentality. Anything that is, sitting and hanging on that wants to keep you in an old structure of mental awareness it's just dissolving. We really are going to oceanic presence, and that's a beautiful thing. So, yeah. What was that? Gosh, see, that's going to bother me now until we'll get into meditation. It's going to come to me probably. Anyway, okay, I think that's probably the bulk of everything that I wanted to get covered today. Yeah, so that we don't have a huge, long session again, I guess let's go ahead and get ready to go in meditation. Let's do some transcendental shifts, and we're going to go on deep cellular levels and release every nanoparticle of distortion, anything that's holding us back to really create these new beginnings. I think it's really a perfect time for us to all come together. And I know I've said this in a couple of calls, but if I don't say it enough, I'm in so deep gratitude for everyone that continues to come together in these calls. I mean, I know sometimes we have larger numbers, sometimes it's smaller numbers. I think today we had like 12 or 13. I think when I last looked at the thing, but that's a perfect number. If it is a 13, then this Christic awareness. I mean, it's all perfect, and it really isn't about a number. I've always said this too. I mean, whoever comes, it's always exactly perfect. Whatever creation, that we have, is always who was needed at that time. And all of you have always said you always felt, you got exactly what you needed at any moment. And that really is perfect. I mean, I love how that works for us. What is that? Let me undo that part. Okay. So, if you're not in your quiet space, your bed or your couch, your easy chair, recliner, then go ahead and find that space. I'm almost there. And we're going to go in and really call in the highest divine presence that we always sit in. And just FYI, as a reminder, I mean, I know when we go into these calls, I'm facilitating it, I'm speaking through it, but we're really each creating it. It's a collective creation. And I really want every single person on the call to know and stand in your own power of that creation. I'm not creating this. We are creating it. I may be taken it as a seer or facilitator for something, but if your soul is here, it's co-creating it. And this is really how you step into just pure self-awareness and power, to know that whatever words are coming forth, if you've come in, your soul came here to hear it. But your soul co-created it. There's when you look at bigger dynamics, especially things like concerts, I mean, thousands of people come together for concerts. And we wonder about how that dynamic works. How do certain people, share, or, I don't know, Barbra Streisand, Madonna, whoever they've been, how do those people create such an energy that people want to go and flock to be there? Part of that's programming. We're conditioned. There's some place within us that is being met when we go to concerts. But if you look at the value of the lyrics, when you look at the frequency of the music that people are listening to, all of that's conditioned, and everything is a frequency. And just to remind you, so much of today's music is not. It's in a distorted frequency. It's not the highest. It's not the 432 hertz. It's at 440. It's just skewed. And at some point, you clear out enough that if you hear something that is not of a balanced frequency match, it's gonna sound like fingers on a chalkboard to you. I can't hardly listen to any popular music anymore. And I bring that up because it's just one example of so many things happening in the world that have come, and they're created on purpose to take our attention away from ourselves and our family and natural being of expression. How can we just be on the planet, to be in community, be in presence with each other, and to not have that hijacked? And we just have lost so much of our awareness of how much of our time is hijacked by something outside of ourselves. And okay, well, I didn't expect to interject that in here. It's when you get out of the way, Spirit gives us what we need. So basically, I'm told that that's being presented to us because that's the level of clearing that we're going to be going in to do with this. I mean, I've done this, at different times, and Judith certainly took us into this level too. But literally, imagine yourself cleaning out every micron. I mean, every nanoparticle of presence that's within you, any of the residue, any of the gradu that's left within the soul, and not just in this physical body, but beyond the physical body. We're talking about who we are as a multidimensional expression in any and all timelines throughout all existence, ever since we were created as a collective humanity. And there's so much that people don't contemplate this. We just don't. We're so conditioned away from it. And so, okay. So just take a couple of really deep breaths and just allow Spirit to come in and permeate your entire existence. And most of us on this call, I think, we can go into this presence immediately. As a matter of fact, we never really leave it. Even though, as we go through our days, the 2 weeks in between these calls, life happens, we go through whatever it is. But in truth, you never leave. This pristine awareness never leaves you. And the fact that we've been doing this for over 2 years now, actually coming up on 2 years, I think, in March, The fact that we've done this on a regular basis, we've conditioned our cellular structure to live this as a higher frequency. We really don't leave it as much. The more we stay in these frequencies, the more we're going to be able to have an externalization here in the world of form in the highest possible expression. The fact that we come together supports all of that on an energetic level. And when we're doing that, we are beaming it out into the world. That shifts the world. It shifts the morphogenetic field. For anyone wanting to check into that, Rupert Sheldrake coined that term and has written on it extensively. And believe it or not, the morphogenetic field is shifting exponentially because we're shifting exponentially. It has to meet who we are. And as such, science, any and all psychological understandings, people that are in any of these fields are constantly shifting, where the science, deeper spiritual meanings, not organized religion, because that's a structure, control structure, but our spiritual capacity and our capacity to understand what we perceive to be science, the structure that makes up how that all works, is merging deeper and deeper on an exponential basis. That's part of what 3i Atlas is really doing here as an awareness in the ecliptic plane. I really feel like it's dissolving on core levels all of the false paradigms and structures that have held up that we perceive to be reality. When you sit with your breath, notice how lighter the air particles feel when you're breathing them in through your nostrils, through your mouth, down and into the lungs. That's lighter and lighter. We are taking on so much light through all the plasma ejections, the coronal ejections, it's all the adamantine particles that are really coming in and activating everything on core levels. It's changing everything on the atomic and subatomic levels. Again, people in science can only articulate to their capacity of perception. If they have not stepped outside of the box as pure awareness, they cannot articulate something that they don't know on an internal level. If this feels right to you, when you hear it and you allow it to go into your heart, you will feel whether it's true or not. Anything that's not true, you're being not reconditioned, but you're remembering your capacity to know something through heart truth. You'll just know it. When you take a breath, do you feel the breath going all the way Just the lungs. Do you feel the breath permeate all through physicality? Do you feel it going through the neural systems? Do you feel it going into the blood? Do you feel it going through the lymphatic systems, the skeletal system, all the neural networks? Imagine that one particleization of an air molecule could go in and nourish the entirety of your body. What if that could happen? You'd be pretty light, wouldn't you? Do you feel the electrical buzzing through your body, through your arms, through your legs, through your toes and your arms and your fingers? If you've been on this call, we've already cleaned out the bulk of your chakra system. So there is no separation of chakras. There's no waiting for the energy to come up at the base of your spine, to go up and clear out. You're able to go into pure immediacy because we've done this for so long, and because we've gone through a soul progression as a group, to where you're just in the immediacy and you're able to heal much more instantaneously than you did before. The healing happens through the whole five-body system. We're shifting everything in your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body, to line up with the etheric body, which then clears out in physicality. It's also reworking and rewiring your neural networks. It's going in and dissolving anything within the brain that it's extraneous, that the stuff that you've carried for eons of time. There are millions of atoms within your body. Imagine that they are all going through an immediate reset just by hearing this through the power of suggestion. Imagine that you had the capacity to sit in every atom within the totality of who you are. There is no separation. But imagine that you had awareness of all of that, every single nanoparticle of your existence throughout the time-space continuum. Imagine that there's parts of your soul that have been left out, and we're allowing for the deepest amount of soul retrieval that can happen to your capacity at this particular moment of time. If there's parts of your soul that's been left out in other sons and daughter and mother, father universes, some of you may have visions where you feel your consciousness go out into those fields. You may feel parts of yourself jumping across planets or any of the other planetary bodies that are out there in the asteroid fields, any of the places where we got blown apart over the last several millennia and went into such vast disintegration. Imagine that you are reclaiming any and all aspects of yourself that got blown apart. Not in physicality. Obviously, the physicality happened as well. I'm talking about the core parts of your essence. The original creation of you, whoever you were. As a unique part of human expression. Imagine that we are closing down for the final time all of the distorted timelines, the distorted genetic and ancestral inheritances, all of those places where we came in time after time, more deeply wounded than the time before. These wounds have been carried for eons of time, and we're closing those down and healing them. Go deeply into your blood. The blood is really what's carrying all of that. It circulates throughout your body constantly. Feel all of this solar energy, all of the plasma energy that's coming from the sun, the great central sun, the great central sun, and so on and so forth. All of that adamantine particle energy is deeply, deeply filling in any place that's lost within your soul. This is pure cosmic awareness. Some of you may feel like you're going into out-of-body experiences. You may feel like you're going into everything that's beyond every story that you've ever known about yourself. The stories were meant to be dissolved. You are not the stories. The stories have created limitation for so many lifetimes. Feel this vast embodiment as it radiates from the very core of your being. Feel it in your bones. You are in your bones, but you may not have developed the capacity to really go to the core. The skeletal structure is the most dense part of who you are in physicality. The bones carry so much of the DNA, of the genetic inheritance. You may feel like you're carrying so much electrical impulse through that you can't it's almost like it feels overwhelming to you. If you ever feel like the energy is overwhelming to you, just go in and ask Spirit to calm that down. I never want to overstimulate anyone's nervous systems or the skeletal or any of the body systems. And I don't think that I can do that because it's not a me. All we're doing is asking and holding permission for the highest capacity of healing for each one of us. That's one thing that Spirit has taken me deeply into with my own self-mastery. And I've brought this up with several calls before. When you're sitting in prayer or meditation for something or someone else, we never want to project our value onto another person of what we think is the highest expression or their highest capacity for healing, because we will always be coming from a place of limitation. You can't know the totality of what someone else's capacity is for that healing. You can ask for permission between their soul and spirit. If you're deeply sitting in the oneness field and the soul invites you to go in, then certainly then you can be taken in and shown. At the same time, the soul has to go in itself to do the healing. All I'm doing is taking us in as Spirit guides me in, as your soul, our individual souls, the oversouls, on a collective level go in. You have to go meet the energy. I can't take you there. I can't heal you. You are healing you. This is you meeting the totality of who you are, remembering who you are before you fragmented. As you're laying in your space, you are probably feeling almost like you could just float. Imagine doing this with family or friends or just anyone you know. Sadly, most people are not in a place to receive this level of deep shift. This really is just pure grace. Imagine that we have cleared out so much of the densification that we've carried for eons of time, that it really is resetting our own personal cosmic awareness to create new beginnings into next year that we never dreamed possible. Imagine we're able to step out of the way so deeply and so cleanly that Spirit gifts us. But it's really us gifting ourselves because there's no separation. And we go into such a magical co-creation with Mother, Father, God that we allow an unfolding that's beyond anything that we could have dreamed from this third dimensional perspective. What would that look like? Could this be similar to the energies that we've gone through in different times in the past where, like during the Renaissance, when you had painters that were painting the cherubim, you had people being painted as they're floating above the ground. They're just floating in existence. Were we able to, at different times within our human existence, were we able to just float, levitate? Because we weren't in such densification. Are those paintings painted in actuality? I don't know. What if we really were so light that we could bilocate, that we could teleport from one space to the next? Can you imagine giving up so much density part of your mind may want to come in and say, oh, that's stupid. Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's false. What if it is true? What if we can make such quantum jumps to remember and to release so much on core levels and give up so much densification that we could come to that space? As you're in your body right now, feel how vast and infinite you are just as pure awareness. Inside out. Feel how much lighter that your heart feels. If there's anything you're still carrying in your heart with regards to anything or anyone or anything outside of you, throw that on the cosmic fire and just let it burn. I know sometimes with these meditations I go in and I bring in all of the different ones. I hadn't done that yet this time because they're always here. Saint Germain and the Violet Flame is really the best way to transmute any and all energy that's internal to us, but also any energy that may be coming at us. But if something's coming at us, then there's got to be some sort of relationship to it. We have to go in and clear whatever it is that allows another energy to come toward us, because that is working through polarity. We are never a victim, ever. If something is in your field, it wants to be seen. It's either coming because you are able to uniquely see it, or it's a reflection of some place you still have yet to go in and see for yourself and release. Nothing happens in a vacuum. doesn't it almost feel like that everything around you is just dissolved? It may feel like your home is dissolved. It may feel like the bed or the couch or the chair that you're sitting in is dissolving, like it doesn't exist. Sit within the pelvic bowl. Feel how much energy is being cleared out of everything that you've carried in the pelvic bowl. There's a cosmic fire that's burning there right now. Can you feel that? All the stuff you've carried, all of the emotions, all of the distortions, all of the hurt, all of the betrayals. Each one of you are going to experience this in a very unique way. If you've already cultivated deep, deep awareness, you're going to feel this. But you're going to feel it in a very core way. You may feel it as fire. It may feel like fire that's burning. It may feel just like energy. You may be feeling this intensity down in the pelvic bowl. We're doing this core level of clearing here because this is where every ounce of your presence emanates from the pelvic bowl. It's that sacral chakra. Chakra 1, down at the base of the perineum. It's how you ground yourself here on this planet. You'll be able to track the interconnectedness between that space all the way up your spine, all the way up into the brain, the 7th chakra. It should be clearing out all of your extremities, the arms, the legs, fingers, toes. But you're also going to be able to track this. Feel the energy go out your feet and down into the earth. You're grounding this. The energy is also going above your head. It's going not just up to the 12th chakra, but up through the 24th and 36th. It's going exponentially beyond the separation of chakra systems. As I told you, that's all been healed long ago. This is taking you back into pure cosmic awareness. You may feel it tingling throughout your skin. While this cosmic fire is burning off all of the other, believe it or not, each one of your souls is only allowing the burn to go to a capacity of something that you can handle. Your soul has its own governor and regulator on it that knows exactly what it's doing. I'm not controlling any of that. I'm sitting in with Spirit, holding permission for your soul to have the highest expression of cleaning and clearing that it can possibly have at this particular moment of your soul progression without becoming overwhelming. This is what we've all asked for, is it not? Don't you feel so whole and so complete in this particular moment of time? This has been a really challenging week. I have sat in so much death. Death on so many multidimensional levels. My own individual expression, but also the death of all of this old timelines for humanity, death of so much of what has kept together the particleization of the old timelines. Now feel this new energy that's coming in. This really could take you into just a pure ecstatic state, depending on where you are. This is a remembrance of the totality of who you are. Feel how pristine this energy feels. This is Mother, Father, God. This is being attended by all the ascended masters of the infinite presence. This is being attended by the entire archangelic kingdom. This is being attended by the seven mighty Elohim builders of form on this planet, in this universe. It's being attended by all of the elemental kingdoms on all of the micronic levels. It's re-attuning you and resetting you to in your divine blueprint, your etheric blueprint, back to its highest perfected state. Whether you choose to know it or not is certainly up to you. As we do this for ourselves, we are permeating that out through omnipresence throughout the cosmos. What if you're that powerful? We're currently a group of 12, well, actually 11. One of them's my computer. 11 is a master number. It's always perfect. Imagine if you had 11,000 people doing this. all at one time. Then what would happen if you had 11 million people doing this all at one time? What would happen if you had 11 billion people? Well, they say there's only 8 billion, but you get the point. Feel these waves of energy ripple through all of your physicality. Feel this energy going into the very core of all of your organs. If you feel the need to yawn, then do so. That's just releasing the energy of everything that you're doing. I didn't imagine going into all of this today like this. I just listened to Spirit. I'm just given what I'm told to do. And always articulating what I'm being given. There's not a personal me that's articulating this. I guess it is, but it really is just a collective spirit speaking to all of us. Mine may be the voice that's coming through, but it's what the collective of each of us are doing. It's also the collective of a vast number of humans that if they ever run across this, when it's put in as a video replay, they may listen to it. Everything's a frequency. The highest potentiality of healing is being put into this as an energy event, as a moment. Whoever needs to find it will always find it perfectly. As you're in this deep meditative healing energetic space, you're invited to stretch out your legs and your arms. Let the energy move through. You don't have to wake up from a deep meditative state necessarily. But if you can ground this energy in slow, light movement, it will allow for the energy to really go in on deeper levels. And the more that you can become a movement of this healing energy, the more it can stay with you here in physicality. We've certainly had deep healing moments before, but the frequencies tonight are really quite amazing. And part of that is because it is this new moon at the Galactic Center. And the fact that the 3-eye atlas comet object, whatever this interstellar thing is right here closest to the Earth. I think it's all connected. Also, feel this energy permeate the function of your ears as well as your eyes. What if these frequencies coming in could rewire your eyes and your ears to dissolve out any of the distortion that you've carried, so that it helps you see with pure divine clarity, but also hear with divine clarity. What if it releases the need for your mind to see or hear anything that is no longer necessary? What will that look like for you in making conscious choices of what you take in with music, television, friends, chats, conversations? Is it important? As you move on from today, you are going to find there are so many things that are no longer important. They will not resonate with your heart and soul any longer because they no longer serve you. You are now cleared of the hypnosis. If there's any conditioning left, projected onto you by parents, family, friends, cultures, wherever you are, what if that's all just dissolved? And you're now only in immediacy. In the past, I've always left these meditations where you're just out in la la land. And so many people go really deep and they fall asleep. Many of you will probably be in deep sleep now. You're invited to do it a little different this time. Do allow yourself to continue to stay in this deep healing space while also bringing your awareness back here. This time, play with keeping this frequency while slowly awakening and being here in this version of reality and space. But being here awake. It's easy for us to stay in a deep meditative state, floating out there somewhere. and going into multidimensional awareness for healing. It's another to accelerate our vibrational frequencies, but then bring them into pure embodiment. To be awake here in a waking meditation. So many people go into samadhi states and deep healing spaces of awareness for themselves and shifting for themselves, the planet, what have you. What would it be like to be a walking meditation? To stay in a super high frequency, to be here now, but be awake in everything that you do. Caring for yourself, your kids, grandkids, your work, whatever your work is, whatever your activities are that you do. And again, most of us, I think, on the call are older. So we're in those later years of life where so many of the things that draw our attention when we're younger are just parts of ourselves that are wanting to play out. As we go through deeper soul progression in life and get past 50s, most people I think on the call are over 50. Maybe one or two that's not, but most of us certainly are. Most I think are you're in the 60s or 70s even. We're 80 for Anna. But what does that mean for creating something for us here later in life? What can be the new magical creations for us as we've gone through this deep transcendental healing on core levels multidimensionally? How can we create something so new from pristine awareness for ourselves that is no longer tied to a karmic set of circumstances or something that has some sort of energy tied to it, something that has limitation? How can we create from a space of just immediacy? Do your eyes feel like they have been burned away from all of the things that they used to see? Do your ears feel like they now have the capacity to release listening to things that no longer serve them? Do they have the capacity to hear the cosmic rhythm of life, the earth, speak to them just as a presence? basically what I'm doing now. I'm articulating what Spirit gives me just as pure presence. There's nothing mental about what is being articulated at this moment of time. I'm just sitting. Words come out. I have no idea what I'm going to say at any given moment. None. There's only the immediacy of a moment. Try that on for size and see how it feels for you. It means getting so far out of your own way. It's pretty radical. I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm in a la la land. This has been a major frequency shift for me, certainly, but I imagine for each of you. Several of you probably have gone to a deep sleep, and you may not wake up when I finish and actually do an ending of the call, but and that's okay. Your soul is perfectly exactly where it's supposed to be. I have the feeling, though, when you wake up, you will be in a completely different space after this call. I could be wrong. Feel free to share your experiences. But do know on a core level that you have shifted and released so much of your distortion. And you've released it to a level that you had no idea of how deep it went in through the totality of who you are as an expression. There's always additional levels and layers, but even for myself, I'm in awe at what has shifted today. And the level of merging that's happened for each of us, going back into spirit and allowing spirit to particleize within each of us. We have never done this in so many lifetimes. So really do experiment with being here now. And if you need to stay in a deep meditative state, then certainly do what your soul is drawn to do. But if you can, wake up in this deep state and hold it. Be able to open your eyes and still stay immersed in these deep healing frequencies. experiment and play with carrying this frequency permanently, if that's what you're called to do. The main thing is cultivate awareness with it. Let your stuff stay in heightened awareness. Stretch your legs, stretch your arms, and allow all of this. Allow this energy to really take hold on deep cellular levels. It reminds me of when Judith used to do the retreats with us, and she would pull us out. I've not really done that on these calls before, so this is new. But it's been what Spirit's asked. It really is a whole new awakening process. I'm in deep gratitude for each and every one of you, because we've all carried it as a frequency together. I guess I'll turn off the recording. So, anyway, again, deep gratitude for each of you for attending, and so appreciative that we've shared this healing time together. And again, the next moon is going to be a very powerful one too in Capricorn on January, I think the 3rd. So can't wait to hear how things are for each of you. So eternal love and many blessings to all of you.